Okay, we want to do a correction on the classes and objects task. Okay, and basically we're just going to go over the guidelines and the question. Okay, so we were asked to download the starter project. Okay, and then to open main.py, and we will find the skeleton of a class, that's student. Again, then student class, you have the following attributes: a name, an age, and a tracks. Okay, the score. Okay, so we're going to create the following method for class: basically a change name function, which should change the student's name; a change age student's age function, which should accept a new age as an argument and should validate that the argument is an age or an integer; an add track function; and a get score function. So we're going to just basically solve that right now. Okay, so this is the main.py file referenced in the question, and the first thing was that we should create an attributes for the user, basically. So students should accept attributes, basically should have attributes. Again, how do classes really work? Classes work with instances. Okay, so the instance of the object should have an attribute self.name, self.age, etc. Okay, and then how do we do that? Basically, so the initialize function, that's the init double underscore init done during it, is called when we basically create a new instance of the class, like so. Okay, so this is going to call this function basically, and so it's going to have to accept parameters. Okay, so a parameter for a name, parameter for age, tracks, and score. Okay, so we're going to basically code that out. So we need to accept parameters for name, for age, for tracks, and for score. Take note, I'm making use of Python version 3.10. Okay, so that's, if you check my Python version here. Why is that important? Because depending on the Python interpreter you're using, if it's really old, maybe Python 3.4, some of this might not work directly. You might need to tweak some things. Okay, and then we basically want to assign these values to the argument we receive. Okay, so when we assign them like this, we basically persisted them. Okay, and we can retrieve them from anywhere within the class in future. We'll look at that in a bit. Okay, so self.name is equal to name, self.age is equal to age, self.tracks is equal to tracks, self.score is equal to score. Again, we basically created this attribute. So once again, I want to go over this. So when we call the initialize, when we try to initialize a new instance of this student class, we're going to get the following parameters or arguments. Okay, so name, age, tracks, and score, which we have here, right? But we just got the arguments. We have to save them somewhere. So we save them in that instance, okay, which is self. So self is going to be the instance. So in this case, self is equal to Bob. Okay, so this is how we access Bob from the class declaration. Okay, and then we can go ahead and add the following methods they access to create. Okay, first one was change name. So first of all, we accept the instance of the class, which is Bob, when we create him basically, and then we accept the new name. Okay, and we just basically say self.name is equal to new name, and we can print, just for debugging, that changed name to. Okay, and then we can make use of f strings here. Okay, we can make use of f strings here to basically change that. Yes, you can take it okay, and we can make use of f strings to format that. Okay, yeah, and which other function will we have to create? We have to create a change age function as well. Change age, add track, and get score. So change age should accept a new age, right? And we also have to make sure that the new age, okay, is an integer basically, or it can become an integer. Okay, or can become 1. And so how do we do that? We can either make use of a try and except, right, to validate that we can turn that into an integer, which we're going to use for this case. We could have also made use of is instance, okay, but that's like a higher level concept, okay, a little bit more advanced, not really, but for our uses or for use case, try and accept would be okay. So basically we just convert that to an integer. Okay, so we convert new age to an integer and we save the result back in new age. Except we return an error basically. So we can print an error. For now we don't need to really raise errors, we just print fail to change age. Okay, invalid data type, and we can raise an error. That's okay. We can raise the exception. So exception is like the inbuilt Python base class for errors. Okay, so by raising an exception, if we run this and let's say we add change name, okay, so let's go ahead and just say Bob for change age YS, yes, okay, that's obviously not going to run. And then we run, okay, I'm in the wrong folder, just going to copy this part and change into that. Again, we run python main.py. We're going to see we raised an exception basically, and Python called out an error, literally. Okay, so fail to change age, invalid data type, and then we see that we raised an error. Okay, so that's an error. That's how we can basically perform validation. Okay, and then we can now assign that variable. Okay, so self.age is equal to new age. Okay, and we can just print changed age to, I'm still making use of f strings here for formatting, new age, and we can do the same for add track. So add tracks, remember, doesn't really what do you call it, change stuff. It just appends a new item to our already existing list. So track, self.tracks is a list, okay, and we can just add or append a new item to that. So for example, we have a list of, let's say, a is equal to 1 2 3, and we want to add a new item to that. We just do a.append 4, and our list now contains 4. So that's what we're going to do basically for tracks. Self.tracks append new track, and that's that. Okay, so we can do def get score. Okay, so that's just a simple get score getter if you're familiar with OOP. So just self, we don't need to accept any arguments, and we can just return self.score. Okay, and that's that. We basically created all the functions as requested. So we can print this out because it's going to return a value, and we can just run that. Okay, this one we can say print added new track, okay. So seems we made a mistake. Okay, that's supposed to be add track, now add tracks. Awesome. So we see change name works, change age works, add new tracks work, and basically get score works, and we just sorted our validation. Okay, so that's basically the solution for that task. Yeah.